Hear that? That's the gentle hum of $700 radiating heat and quietly judging my life choices. Yeah, I swapped out my PS5 for a PS5 Pro 6 months ago. I'll admit, I was skeptical about dropping that much money on basically the same console. But as it turns out, this is what the PS5 should have been from the get-go. With the PS5 Pro, you've got two options. Either you love it or you hate it. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you all about it. How it handles games, whether I actually notice any graphical boost, and how much better, if at all, it really is compared to much cheaper PS5 Slim or Fat. Every time I buy a new PlayStation, it's the same honeymoon story. Non-stop gaming dates for the first month, then the polite, hey, how are you messages by the second, and total ghost mode by the third. That's how it went with PS5, PS4, and even PS3. The PS5 Pro broke that pattern, not because it knocked me off my feet, but because it kept nudging me like, come on, I'm better than your old PS5, right? So I kept checking, kept testing, kept wondering if that extra power draw was actually doing anything on a week-to-week basis. Day to day, the whole experience feels basically the same. Same boot-up chime, same blue LED, home screen that's 98% identical to the launch PS5. Yet despite all that deja vu, I've clocked more hours in this Pro than I ever did on my fat PS5 in the same time span. 3 reasons for that. Bigger storage, 2 terabytes instead of 800 something gigs, plus better graphics and higher frame rates. Now, I'll be honest, unboxing it was kinda underwhelming. I was hoping for some new fancy Edge controller, even though I knew full well would be the same old DualSense. And yep, it's exactly the same. No redesign, same textures, same sticks, same internals, so drifting will probably happen eventually. 6 months in, I still haven't noticed any drift, and the adaptive triggers feel fine. Battery life also holds up well, lasting me a week of short gaming sessions without needing a charge. But if you've seen my fat PS5 reviews, none of this is shocking. Apparently, Sony's controller R&D budget was $0. Same story with the design department. After 6 months of staring at the PS5 Pro, plus 4 years with a fat PS5 before that, it still looks out of place in every apartment I've lived in. Sure, it's technically smaller than the OG PS5, but that overall look hasn't aged well at all. It was awkward back then, and it's still awkward now. Honestly, every time I visit a friend who has an Xbox, I get a little jealous. You barely even notice an Xbox in the room, but the PS5 is basically screaming, look at me. Maybe that was Sony's plan from the start, to make a console so in your face that ignoring it is impossible. The feature I use the least on my PS5 Pro is web browsing. It's okay, loads well, but it's definitely not the place for it. But I do wonder, there's a huge supercomputer with PS5 Pros like there was with PS3s for calculations and hosting. Luckily, hosting websites is much easier now, especially with Kinsta, the sponsor of today's video. The first thing you notice after switching to Kinsta as your hosting provider is how fast your pages load. Pages load at least up to 200% faster, and Kinsta is really proud of that. It should also feel great to know they have an SLA-backed uptime guarantee of up to 99.99%, which is much higher than competition. And if something ever does go wrong, real people will answer your questions right away, not a chatbot giving standard replies. You'll also like how straightforward their dashboard is. Even if you're not super technical, everything is laid out in a way that makes sense. Plus, a few big names like NASA use Kinsta, which gives me personally a lot of confidence. If you're tired of juggling hosting problems, it might be worth giving Kinsta a shot. They offer a free month and a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can see how it works for you without a huge commitment. The link is in the description. Be sure to check it out. The first real improvement I'm still enjoying every single day is that lovely expanded storage. I mean, I don't exactly hoard games, but each new title these days seems to take a minimum of 100 gigabytes, and once you add patches and updates, it's not unusual for them to hit 150 or even 200. With the original PS5, I was forced to decide which games were worthy of staying installed, like picking my favorite child. Now though, I can throw everything on there at once without a second thought. And I still have room for a couple more if I feel like it. Yes, you can upgrade the storage on your PS5 or PS5 Slim, but those ultra-fast SSDs are still pretty pricey, plus you've got to deal with the headache of formatting them correctly. I personally watched every Digital Foundry comparison I could find just to see if there was a real difference, and for me, the biggest performance surprise came from the most unexpected place, the PS Portal. I'll admit, it's definitely not something every PlayStation owner needs, but it's a fun accessory accessory to have. We've got a few videos covering my full experience with it, and I can say that pairing it with the PS5 Pro really kicked it up a notch. Recently, I also upgraded my Wi-Fi setup, and combined with the PS5's new Wi-Fi 7, I can enjoy even higher frame rates and sharper graphics. These days, instead of picking performance mode at 30 FPS, I usually go for either balanced or top-tier visuals, which still holds steady 60 in most situations wirelessly. With that better Wi-Fi, the link is rock solid, so playing Spider-Man in bed before turning out the lights feels as smooth as ever. Another thing that really stands out to me is how much quieter this console is. My old fat PS5 was loud enough that you'd swear was trying to take off from under my TV. After 4 years of use, it had definitely gathered plenty of dust, and the fan noise was quite noticeable. The PS5 Pro, on the other hand, is mostly whisper quiet, and even when it does have to rev up, the sound it makes is gentler on the ears and far less distracting. I'm not gonna pretend that loading games a bit faster than the fat version alone is worth the price jump, and I'm certainly not going to claim those extra USB-C ports on the back are game changers, although I do find them handy. What I will say is that the improvements in visuals are absolutely there. They may not be earth-shattering, but they add this pleasant layer of polish, cleaner edges, less blur and distant objects like trees or skyscrapers, and slightly more detail in smoke and weather effects. It's worth stressing that these graphical enhancements, while glorious for someone like me, don't feel like a whole new generation. If you're not actively looking for them, you might shrug and call the differences nice, but hardly transformative. However, if you've got an eye for the finer points of visual fidelity, the PS5 Pro is a definite step up from the base model. When I'm playing titles that offer Pro enhancements or come with uncapped frame rates, I'm seeing higher and more stable FPS. For example, in the midst of crazy action scenes where my base PS5 might slip below 60 FPS, the Pro stays locked at a smooth 60 without even breaking a sweat. And in games with no official Pro patch, if they use unlocked frame rates or dynamic resolution, the Pro's extra power helps iron out little frame drops and keeps the resolution from tanking as often. In every title I tested, the overall feel was smoother and more stable from start to finish. It's not that the PS5 ever felt sluggish, it was already excellent, but the Pro manages to polish out those last tiny edges, making the whole experience that little bit more seamless and refined. One big thing to keep in mind is that the PS5 Pro's perks really depend on the game you're playing. It's not like the Pro magically bumps every single game to 4K 60 unless the developers specifically updated it or built it with the Pro's extra horsepower in mind. Sony actually started a PS5 Pro enhanced label for titles that are patched or originally coded to utilize its extra GPU oomph. Now, if a game hasn't been updated, you'll still be able to run it in the Pro, of course, but the benefits might be small, maybe slightly fewer dropped frames in an uncapped mode, or a quieter fan. Generally, if a game isn't optimized for the Pro, it will look and play about the same way it does in a regular PS5. The bright spot here is that most of the brand new games coming out in 2025 and beyond will probably support the Pro right away, so at least there is a decent amount of future-proofing. In the early days though, I noticed I had to wait around for patches more than I like. There is still some confusion among developers, but the main concept is pretty straightforward. All those games that force you to pick between quality and performance settings can now most of the time be enjoyed at top quality visuals and full speed frame rates. And if a game supports higher refresh rates, the difference can be stunning. Not many titles hit 120Hz yet, but it feels like discovering a whole new dimension. It's so smooth. Some games also feature a balance mode that aims for middle ground between high quality graphics and a decent frame rate. Typically, that gives you a solid 60 FPS with improved visuals, but keep in mind, if you want to get the full benefit of those better frame rates and enhanced fidelity, you will need a high-end TV that supports VRR, has a 4K res, and of course, HDR for those juicy colors. Load times aren't drastically different from the original PS5. Both use super fast SSDs, so waiting around is never a major issue. You're still diving into matches or giant open worlds in a matter of seconds, which is always a plus. In my opinion, most people genuinely don't need the PS5 Pro. $700 is a hefty price, and financially it might make more sense to just grab a PS5 Slim. The biggest excuse I use to justify my own purchase is the future-proof angle. Because the PS5 Pro has more power, all those 2025 and beyond games should in theory run smoother, especially if they are developed with the Pro in mind. That's not to say the regular PS5 is a pushover. I would still be able to play any new release for at least another 5 years, even if it might be stuck at 30 FPS. But here's the question. Do you want to be sitting at 30 frames when games start pushing 4K visuals to the next level? We're already seeing some insanely ambitious and visually heavy projects, and the standard PS5 can occasionally struggle. Now granted, there are plenty of poorly optimized games with tiny worlds that run terribly no matter what, but the general trend is toward bigger environments and flashier graphics. If you own a 4K TV without VRR, don't feel like upgrading anytime soon, and you mostly play casually or couldn't care less about small graphical or performance differences, the PS5 Slim is absolutely a better fit for your lifestyle. But if you've got a few $100s extra and really want the top-of-the-line gaming experience, the PS5 Pro is the smarter choice. I personally don't regret buying it at all. It's kind of like treating myself to a fancy gift once in a blue moon. So why not go for the Pro instead of the Slim? Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.